Hey guys, this is Sebastian, Natural Mystic Pollock, bringing you a video regarding warming up for RakebackDollars.com. Originally, my next video was going to be a live play session for you guys, but as I'd taken 6 weeks off from play and I was getting back into the groove, it really struck me how important my warm up was to me and how important that was to me to prepare for a session. So I felt like this might be a little bit more important to do this video before I make a live play session. So let's get started. Now we're going to be talking about warming up, actually sitting down and getting prepared for the session. I feel that this is an area that is often ignored by even a lot of very good players a lot of the time, and I could be the biggest culprit in the past as well. I get up or I do whatever. I want to sit down and play a session. I sit down at the tables, and so many students that I work with or people that I talk to, it seems like they're like, oh, the first 15 or 20 minutes of the session I always lose money, or it always seems like it takes me a little while to get going, and then I'm able to and then I start playing better. And I hear that a lot, and it just, to me, it makes no sense to me. It seems like people a lot of the time are digging themselves in a hole, or they're obviously not prepared to play, but yet they just want to jump in. It would be equivalent to a professional athlete just stepping on the field or whatever without doing any warm up and then just going full out. It's just a recipe to tear muscles and get injured and not to perform optimally. So again, I feel that the warm up is something that's very often overlooked, and it's something that I feel costs a lot of players quite a bit of money, especially at the beginning of their sessions. They don't get off to a good start, then they start down, and then they're always fighting uphill. To either get back even, or it's just not a good feeling to always be digging out of a hole. So some of the things that I always recommend for people warming up would be possibly watching a video, doing some hand review, maybe doing some range work, reviewing your Hold'em Manager database, whether it's for 5 or 10 minutes. I feel it just gets your brain firing and working on poker, gets you in the proper mindset, and from there, again, this is where the actual preparation and warm up for the session begins. I start every session with setting up an intention for the session. So maybe there's something particular that I'm working on, or 2 or 3 areas that are very important that I'm really looking to do. So maybe I'm looking to make sure that my barreling frequencies, that I keep them high enough. Maybe I want to make sure that I'm 3-betting enough. Something like that. So I have a couple things that are at the top of my list that I really want to be focusing on. I feel like players who are making the transition from either recreational or part-time player into a more serious role, at the games, as tough as the poker climate is at this point, in my opinion, the game's at 100 no limit and below, and even a little bit higher, but we'll just say 100 no limit and below right now, that if you just play good poker and don't make mistakes, and you make less mistakes than your opponents, you're going to win, and you're going to win at a pretty good clip. So I feel that if one can eliminate those mistakes first, that's the first step. So setting an intention for the session, I feel, is very important, and I feel it's very important to also set that up into the affirmative as opposed to the negative. So instead of saying I won't stack off with a 1-pair hand on the flop, you can turn that into I will make big folds with a 1-pair hand on the flop, or whatever it may be, but you really want to keep it in the positive and the affirmative as opposed to the negative. The next thing that we need to do here is put yourself in the right mindset. So I believe, for me, one of the things I do is I take 10 deep breaths, I clear my mind, then I start imagining the things that I'm doing when I'm playing well. So I'm able to pick up the action. It's moving slow for me. I'm able to quickly identify the opponent types, make a read, create a game plan, and then employ the best and most optimal game plan to that's going to be the most plus EV in the situation. So I try to think about those situations of the certain feelings that I have. For me, again, sitting straight up in the chair with my feet flat on the ground, feeling very calm and no tension in my face, feeling very relaxed, and that I'm in the right mindset to make the proper decisions. And I feel again that this is a very important skill to being able to differentiate between your A game and your C game. It's something that I struggled with for quite a bit. And a lot of the students that I work with, I talk about this as well, that they think that they're playing well and they think that they're making all the right moves, and during the session in the heat of the moment, they take a couple losses and they go, oh man, I'm just running so bad, I run so unlucky. And then afterwards we take a look at some of the sessions and some of the plays and come to the conclusion that maybe some of them were a little bit unlucky, but they were also that maybe the optimal line wasn't taken. So I think that a lot of the time it's very difficult to recognize when we are and aren't playing our C game, especially during a session. And the better grasp we have on being able to identify the differences, the better we'll be able to say, you know what? I'm in my A game, I'm playing really good, I am going to play an extra half an hour and monitor my session and see how, monitor it after that, because I feel like I'm playing well, I want to maximize my profit. Or, boy, I'm really playing my C game, I'm not thinking clearly, I'm not making the optimal decisions. I'm able to recognize that, so therefore I'm going to cut my session short. While reviewing what the proper mindset is, from there I try to go into what are some of the proper strategies that I'm trying to do. So possibly it'll again be, I'm going to be stealing this percentage. I'm going to be making sure to 3-bet this percentage. My barrel frequencies are going to be this. I'm going to be recognizing this opponent type, and against the weak passive opponents, I'm going to be betting and betting for value. Against the aggressive opponents, I'm going to be betting a little wider for value, and I'm going to bluff them less, and this or that, and whatever strategies it may be that you use. That you pretty much not, and this is different from setting your intention. When you set your intention for the session, you're trying to work on things that you know you've been struggling with, so you're keeping those at the forefront of your mind. When you're reviewing the strategies that you use, these should be tried and true strategies that you feel comfortable with, and when you're playing your best, you know you're executing them properly. I briefly touched on setting a time limit or a stop loss. I feel that, studies show that the human brain can only focus for a maximum of 2 hours at a time. What I typically do for my sessions is I play for 1 hour uninterrupted. Then I take, just my timer goes off, and then I just stop for a second and say, am I playing my A game? If so, then I continue playing, and I reset the timer for half an hour, play for the half an hour, do the same thing. If I'm still playing my A game, I play for another half an hour, and then typically I stop at the 2-hour mark, even if that's only stopping for 10 or 15 minutes to get myself out of the chair, get the blood circulating, stop staring at the monitor, and get maybe a little bit of food, a glass of water, use the restroom, whatnot. And then I'll continue to play. I feel, especially for players who don't have a proven track record and who don't have proven records of success yet, that it's pretty important to do a stop loss as well. Though I'm not one for checking stats during the session, if I get, depending on your level of tilt, your risk aversion, and how much variance you can take. Some people can drop, I know, 4 buy-ins and it doesn't affect them at all. I know some players who they drop 2 buy-ins in a session and all of a sudden their game goes to shit. So it's really important to understand and recognize what type of player you are, how much do the losses affect you, and being brutally honest about this. I know a lot of players that I talk to say, oh, losing, it doesn't affect me, it doesn't bother me, but then at the end of the day, after they drop a couple buy-ins, I think it's the passive tilt that is a lot more dangerous than the monkey tilt, when we're, punching walls and throwing mouses and throwing mice and doing things like that. It's pretty easy to spot when we're tilting. I think, again, it's much more dangerous tilt is when we don't think we're tilting and we think we're playing okay, but maybe we're a little shell-shocked, or maybe we're playing a little bit more passive than we should, or maybe we're playing a little bit more aggressive and we don't even realize it. So especially if you drop a stack or you've dropped a couple stacks, maybe this is a time where you do check your hold'em manager, kind of see where you're at, and then take a break from there.